to the Bridge Podcast TX, Tuesdays at 11 a.m., where we are connecting commerce with community, interviewing business owners and leaders in the community, allowing the audience to peek behind the curtain of what inspires, motivates, drives these individuals to have meaningful, positive impact in this community. For more information about the show, log into irlonestar.com/TBPTX.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Cindy Cochran Show. We're so happy for you to be here. And if you have been living in the past few days in this kind of weather we had, yikes, this is where you need to be, just listening and watching the Cindy Cochran Show. And if you're listening to it on 106.1 or 104.5, you have at least 30 minutes that you can listen to us because from New Waverly, if you're starting in New Waverly and go to the Woodlands, then you can listen to us. And then, of course, we're just, worldwide on the internet. It's so great to know that anybody can listen in. And you see it live here, but as soon as the show is over, then it's up on YouTube, and it's there for infamy. And it is there, and you can see it immediately because Richard is so smart. He gets it right back, right there on YouTube all the time. And so I have a really exciting guest, but I got to tell you what happened this morning. It was so weird. Besides the prognostication from Punxsutawney Phil, how'd I do with that name? Yeah. Everybody knows how bad I am with names. I can't remember a name, and I can't pronounce it correctly. But he said, the groundhog said there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. And as we're going through this rain, it's 37 degrees, and the people are cheering it. There are thousands of people. More people, like my dad would say, they need more to do. And so they're standing out there and can't wait for him to say there's going to be more winter because they want that winter. So that's what happened. But then, okay, I go to HEB. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm walking up to the door. It's raining and it's cold, and I just have this little jacket on. And I'm walking up there, and here comes this guy out of HEB with this big umbrella. It looked like an English type of umbrella. And he comes up and he walks right up to me and he puts the umbrella over me and he says, okay, he has an accent. I can't tell exactly what it is, but he says, you take my arm. Go ahead, take my arm. It sounds pirate, doesn't it? But anyway, and I said, oh, okay, and that's so sweet of you. And I said, I feel like a queen. He said, you are a queen. You are a queen. Don't you understand? You're a queen, lady. Always feel that. Always know that you're a queen. I went, okay, that's so great. Thank you. I just didn't know if anybody recognized it, but you did. So thank you so much. And we went, and I went in, and I was like, that was the weirdest experience I ever had. He was...
That was nice of him.
Yes, it was people would say an elderly gentleman, but I know I was more elderly than he was, much older. But it was great. And then I had to go to Valero, and I'm coming out of Valero, and this young man, as I'm coming out holding stuff, he opens the door for me, and I went, boy, your mommy taught you right. And he said, oh, yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am. And my mom is like everywhere. I never know when she's going to walk up or anything, and I don't need no whooping today. So I opened the door for the ladies. And I said, thank you. And it was so cute. And I thought, I just love Texas. I just love Texas. You just never know when you're going to meet a pirate or someone who talks like a real truck driver from Texas. And it was great. So I had a good time, except for that prognostication. I was going to try and say it one more time, but prognostication. I kept asking my smartphone, how do you pronounce prognostication? Can you say it for me? She said, in what language? And I said, in English. She said, no, what do you want it translated in? And I said, English. And she said, I can't translate English into English. I'm having this argument with a robot voice, and I'm going, oh, this is stupid. So anyway, okay, now to the good stuff for the day. We have with us for the next 45 minutes or so, we have Deanie Boy and Jim Boy. Jim Boy. I love that. I never said that. Jim Boy and Deanie Boy are our guest. Now, this couple is like so incredible. I know, Dennis, everybody is saying, okay, Cindy, so shut up and let them talk this time, okay? All right. But they have had 45 years collectively of experience in law enforcement. Jim has been everything from here to there, from the guy who takes the kids across the street to sergeant and what's your highest rank, Jim?
Patrol boy.
That was your highest rank. Patrol boy. So
My highest rank was sergeant.
Sergeant, okay. And Deanie was like one of the first women who did undercover work for the HPD, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, their background, just like we could sit and just talk and talk and talk. But I do want to get to the part where Jim is going to tell about his story. We've had Deanie on, and we've done a lot of whodunit series with Deanie. So a lot of people know Deanie already, but we want to talk to Jim and find out. And he started telling me a story about how he had to, he moved around a lot because of the service. And your parents.
My dad was in the Navy.
Navy, okay. And so you moved how many times? 7?
Well, we moved, I went to 11 different schools.
Oh, yeah.
So before I graduated from high school, but I graduated out of Richardson, Texas. So I was either playing catch-up or coasting, one of the two, because they're either, ahead of me.
Sure.
But I'd come in midterm or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I was always having to meet new people.
Right.
So I never, ever meet a stranger. Never, know.
See, and I asked him, I said, well, do you have problems with did you have problems with bullies having to go? Did you have to, prove yourself every time you went to a new school?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he said, and I was everything too. I was the guy that walked the kids across the street. And what would happen if somebody wasn't acting right?
Well, I would see somebody who really wanted to learn and somebody picking on him. This is through the years. I'd just take him around the back and show him what needed to be done. And he was respectful from there on out.
Did you
so
give
I
him a
was
whooping?
policing beginning in the second grade.
That's wonderful. At what point do you think you decided I'm going into law enforcement because I can take care of all these kids?
I never considered being in law enforcement. I ran from them a lot.
That is true.
I had a 57 Chevrolet that I had souped up to near 700 horsepower.
Oh, my word.
And so the police would fall in, try to get me, and I even had a toggle switch where I'd flip off the brake lights. They wouldn't light up when I was on the brakes. And I could go down a side street, and they wouldn't see me and keep on going,
Oh, my word.
So I knew all the tricks when I became a police officer. They didn't pull nothing over on me.
You knew all the tricks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my word.
But I never got caught,
Oh, but tell him about the guy that you rode with that knew you and stopped you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I'm a rookie in the Houston Police Department, and so we ride the day shift, the night shift, and the swing shift in the middle. So it was the swing shift, so I reported there, and they called for a car out there on the street to come by and pick up your rookie. Well, the rookie was me. So I got in, sat down, and I looked, and I recognized this guy right off. He was a Jefferson Parish sheriff, deputy sheriff, who had, last I ever saw him, he had me up by the collar, leaning up against the car, trying to get information out of me about one of my buddies that ran afoul of the law all the time. But I happened to know him, but he was trying to get the information out of me. So I'm sitting there, and I look at him, I said, do you remember me? And he says, well, you look vaguely familiar. And so I brought that up, and we had a big laugh about that. I said, well, it's better to join you guys than be chased all the time.
That's right. And did he ever say, okay, now can you tell me now what happened to that guy?
He asked,
he
but
did?
I didn't have any information on it.
Yeah.
He was just trying to get street information.
Sure.
But I didn't know.
See, that's what's good is since you were a street kid, that you certainly did know how to talk to those guys.
I did, yeah.
And was it force that helped get the story out of them, or was it you were so sweet and kind and you bought them lunch, or
Are you talking about my investigation techniques? Mine were really purely being human to human, seriously.
straightforward to them?
Just straightforward, talk to them, and one time I was in Houston PD homicide, and just asked this guy. We'd picked him up, and he was pretty much a suspect, but we brought him down for give us a statement of what you know. And then I said something like, what would you do if he had a scratch on his face? I said, what would you do if I could, like put that right in and it would fit like underneath the skin from underneath the dead man's fingers. I said, what would you do if we could just put that into your face? What would you do? Or what would you say about that?
To collect what's in that
I was
scar.
going to take the skin out from under there and just lay it in his face, I said, what would you say about that? And he goes, well, I guess you'd say I was guilty. And I said, why'd you do it? And then he just said, let me.
That sounds like a Perry Mason thing.
Yeah.
He just confesses.
Things are stranger than fiction,
Oh,
but seriously, what would you do if I could do that? Just like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you'd say I was guilty.
And
then it started from
you
there.
got him dead to right in that sense.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what I always am interested in watching the forensic shows and stuff like that. And my grandson got so interested, and he's taking forensic science at school.
Oh, good for
And
him.
he said, it's really something, you really need to know what these people have to go through. And it's horrible, but
you got to get through it.
Yeah.
You got to get the truth. And trickery, I call it slickery. I mean, I just made that up, but you just have to be slicker than they are.
Yes, that's right. No, and since you had all this, experience of being slick with the police, that's good because you can recognize when they're trying to.
Yeah, I knew when they were going off. Well, okay, I put my finger on their face and just say, you just keep on talking because I'm a human lie detector. I can pick that up. And then sometimes they would actually start telling me the truth.
And when you see me start blinking, watch out. This is it. I love that. Now, because they wouldn't allow the lie detector, the evidence you get and when you do a lie detector test, they wouldn't allow it in the court. Wouldn't that just drive you all crazy? Because you've got it on paper where they really did seem like they were guilty.
Well, the lie detector test, I can recall one where you can imagine the lady. She was sitting on her couch with a bullet hole right between her eyes. I mean, direct, right between her eyes. And I talked to her husband. He said it was an accidental shooting. And pretty good shot for an accidental shooting. But what tipped me off is he said he was cleaning his gun. It was a revolver. And the revolver and the semi-automatic operate differently. But the way he told me is that the gun accidentally went off. He didn't know there was a bullet in the cylinder. But he was cleaning his weapon.
But he was clean.
But what I noticed was that house was immaculate. That lady kept a very, very tidy house. And I looked at the cleaning equipment that he had out, the Hoppy's number 9, cleaning stuff, and the push rod and all
Right.
that. And I said, okay, I accept that. and he gave me a statement, accidentally shooting his wife. But they were watching Rocky III. And Rocky III was on, and I could imagine her griping at him for cleaning his weapon there. But one thing that really tipped me off that it was a lie was there was no towel or anything underneath his cleaning equipment.
Oh,
He
and
was
she would have
missing.
insisted
She
on
would've,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she probably did, and that's what got her killed. I don't know, but going back to the lie detector test, I waited for about 30 days. This guy, so I knocked on his door about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I said, I've been thinking about something, And so he invited me in. I said,
did?
look, I'm just really a little confused. Will you come on down to the police department with me and make me a formal statement? And so he said, yeah. So we went down, and I questioned him and I said, so I led him right up to, why don't you take a polygraph? We'll clear this thing up. Okay. So he goes down there. Well, within maybe 20, 30 minutes, he was singing like a bird how he killed his wife.
Really?
The polygraph, was used, and he confessed right there. But that coupled with the time period I waited
Yeah.
for the guilt to come out in him,
Ah,
and that's why I knocked on his door at 5 o'clock in the morning. First of all, he's off balance,
right.
and then go in. I don't really want to tell the techniques here.
All right, out you there. Nobody tell anybody.
Yeah,
okay?
don't tell
Right.
anybody.
Top secret.
I think I'll call everyone that's watching today. I think I've got all their numbers.
But it was a cleared case. He was charged with murder, and
Wow.
it was a good case. But that's
That's-
one of the uses for the polygraph. It worked just fine.
Now, did anyone teach you that, like to wait for 30 days or anything, or did you come up with that because you know the psychology of criminals?
It's probably that right there. I knew when I was standing on the street when somebody's fixing to run, when they were going to run. I just knew it. The rabbit was in there, and they were going to run, and I would step in just as he started to go, grab him.
It's a
Well,
body
that's-
language, yeah.
Yeah.
You learn how
Kinesics.
to watch people's bodies, what they do, their eyes, their posture, everything, that even the conversation that you have with them, you can tell when they're up to something, like we call it, like he's going to
Rabbit.
run like a rabbit.
Uh-huh.
You can tell it almost every time when they're going to run. So when we see that, we take
block their
measures
way.
to block their
Block their path.
That's why
Yeah.
you always need, I guess, did you go out by yourself a lot?
When I came on the police department, and I graduated in January 7th of 1977, and we were generally one man except for the probationary period.
Yeah.
We didn't. Probationary period, she and I rode together.
Is that how you met?
It is.
That is
Yeah.
how you met. Oh, how romantic.
well, it wasn't romantic at the time.
No.
No, was she being trained? Did you have to train her, or
Yeah, I was
You
a field training officer on the streets in North Shepherd when she graduated from the academy. Came out, and I took her as a rookie for a while, and we got into a lot. She and
Yeah.
I. She really did.
are you saying you got into a lot? Like you were
A lot of
you had a lot of
crime.
arguments, or a lot of crime? Oh, okay. I didn't,
None of that kind of stuff.
you've never argued, yeah?
She wasn't allowed to argue with me.
There
I was her superior officer.
Exactly.
And she really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm kidding.
and that is true when you're a probationary, your field training officer is your commanding officer at that time, and so they grade you through. There's a grading process, and so each time that you go out on the streets with your field training officer, you're graded at the end of the shift, and that's how they keep track of what
Progressing.
what probationary officers are really progressing, which ones are going to make good officers, which ones do we need to get rid of now, that sort of thing.
That's amazing.
And that's 6 months?
Yes.
Yeah, we ride together 6 months, and then we're on probation for a year.
Okay, so once you've had 6 months of dealing with him,
Mm-hmm.
and did he come across as someone that's very, compassionate, or was he hard, or like real hard?
Well, he was actually very business. There was no messing around. It was if we ran on a scene, that's how we handled it, and that's the way you have to handle it as business. You have to take command of the scene. You have to take control of and you can't let the person that you are encountering, get the upper hand. So he's very, very businesslike. When we were on the street, he taught me a lot. I rode with him about 4 or 5 times, because when my original FTO would take off, then they would put me with him, or they would put me with another officer. And so each time, I was graded up to 6 months, and then a year, and then 6 more months. Then after a year, you're on your own.
And a lot of times she rode by herself after that.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that when
on
she
the
told
night
me
shift,
that.
Yeah.
Did that scare you?
No. I'll tell you a real quick story.
Yes.
She's
Oh,
on
make it long,
probation.
it's okay.
She's on probation, and we arrested a DWI. And at that time, and I suppose it's the same today, one of us, either she or I, will drive the arrested person's car into the storage lot. And so I was talking to her on the radio. I said, Deanie, we're going to have to pull over here. There's a house on fire. And she's got the DWI suspect in the patrol car. She's driving the patrol car. I'm driving the offender's vehicle. So we pull over, and there's a lady laying in the ditch. She'd been blown out of the second story.
Or the 2-story house, yeah.
And she's laying in the ditch, and I ran up on her to treat her. Deanie still got the prisoner in the back seat, in the back of her patrol car. And I ran up to her, and I said, is there anybody else in the house? And she kept screaming, my kids, my kids, my kids. And so I went around. I just went to the house. Was going to kick the front door, and I thought, oh, well, if we kick the door, the fire will leap out at the oxygen.
Right.
So it was fully engulfed. So the upper floor was all on fire, and you can imagine the ceiling of the lower was rolling flames. It was like being in an oven.
Yeah.
I never experienced this and haven't experienced it since, but my uniform was totally wet. All of a sudden, that's how hot it was. My body it was totally wet. And I was going into the closets, in the pantry, underneath the tables, underneath everywhere, trying to find those kids.
So you're saying low on the floor?
No, I'm standing up, but I'm running through
you're-
different closets, through the living room.
On the first floor.
On the
and
first
gone
floor.
up to the second floor.
Oh,
yet.
no, I thought you're supposed to just stay beneath the heat or beneath the fire. You
I
have to
didn't
be
have
on the
time
floor.
to do any of that. If she's got kids, I
gotta
just
find them
imagine
quick.
from her age, they would only be 4, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5 years old at the most. So I went up the stairs, and a fireball blew up and blew me off of the stairs, and I'm flat on my back at the base of the stairs. And so Wayne Jose, who's deceased, was a narcotics officer. He came up, and I didn't even know he was there, but he grabbed me by the nape of the neck and dragged me out onto the porch, and because that fire had just come through. So that was the days of polyester shirts, and my shirt was beginning to melt. That's how hot it was.
melting.
Yeah.
Plus, we got vest on, too.
Yeah. Well, I think I had a vest on back then, but anyhow, I come outside, and I'm standing there, kind of shaking off. The house is beginning to burn. I'm under the front porch, and I see something happening out there, and I look, and it's the prisoner with Deanie on his back. Deanie weighed about 90 pounds back there, I'm sure. But she's on his back, hitting on him with a flashlight. And I had this inclination to go and run to help Deanie, because she was one of the first female police officers at North Shepherd Substation, or maybe on the department, really, as far as patrol went. So I had the inclination to leap out and go run, and I went, no, she's got it under control. What he had done is kicked out her back window of her patrol car and escaped while this was going on.
I gave him
And you ran him down?
I gave him explicit instructions. I
Sure
said,
you did.
this is what we got going on. I said, you better stay right here. So when he ran into the house, I ran in behind him, but fire and me just don't. I was a police officer. I was not a fireman.
Right.
So he had it on control on his end. As I'm walking out to go to help her because the ambulance finally got there, I hear a loud bang noise, and I look, and there he is, handcuffed, broke my window out, and he's climbing through the window, and he takes off running down the street. And I said, oh, what made me mad is he broke out the window because I was going to have to write a bunch of reports.
That's right.
And when I finally got him tackled,
No, so you take out after him.
I take out
with
after
your
him.
flashlight.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you.
My flashlight was about this long, and all I had to do was go bang a couple of times, and he went down, but I was on top
was
of
on
his
him.
back and went down with him.
And
So
because his hands are still cuffed.
Yeah, behind him.
He's running behind him, and she's on his back, going whacking him. You know.
He didn't want to stop. I had to force him to stop.
Eventually, he did want to stop. That is so. When you come out, I hate to ask, are the kids?
That's what I was going to end
Yeah.
this story with. There were no kids.
Thank God.
Was it her? She was just hallucinating.
She was in
confused.
such pain and pretty much hallucinating, I guess. But she was screaming her kids, my kids, my kids. I still
yeah.
hear it.
Oh, I
And-
bet.
and
there
so-
were no kids
No.
in there.
No,
None.
it was hard. It was
After-
really a horrible scene. She was burned really bad. Her nightgown was just all
melted.
melted on her, and it was just thank God that he saw the fire, that we could get
Right,
there
right.
and help.
But how
help her.
dangerous! I mean, what could have happened to you? And there were no
Let me
kids.
tell you, police officers do this routinely,
Yeah.
and we get a bad rap. But those
Oh.
stories right there are not published.
See, that
Mm-hmm.
aggravates me so bad, is because that's what when police officers take their money out of their pocket and buy somebody food and they pick the kids up and
Yeah.
try and take care of them while some people are having fights and stuff like that. I agree. Why in heaven's name can't we do those kind of stories like all the time? Because
Before
that's just
the
amazing.
community policing thing came out, we were community policing anyway, because the banks would give us candy, or they would give us balloons, and then we always carried balloons or something like that in our pockets. And then when you have a little kid, we would stop, get on our knees, and talk to them and give them a balloon or something.
A lot of us had stuffed animals,
Oh, and the
Yes.
stuffed animals.
That's one of the things that the public doesn't hear a lot about how the police really help other people out. We've had police officers give money to families because they didn't have food or clothes for their children. And that's what we do with Thin Blue Line Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club. And the foundation is we raise money for children of officers that were killed in the line of duty or injured in the line of duty.
Orphans,
We support a couple of orphanages in Mexico to give those kids the opportunity to attend college. And we've gotten letters back from the amazing things that they've been able to do because we we're able to give to them. So that's what the public, they don't hear about all
No.
the good stuff we do. It's just all negative.
That's
I used to explain the black cloud. I made this up too.
okay.
The black cloud is when you, Houston PD, when you run 10, 12 calls every single night, not one of those, I mean, after 3 years of running that type of night shift, negative, they develop something I call the black cloud above their head. And mine actually broke, and that was from experience, but I'd seen it all through, looking at other officers. They had what I call the black cloud. But after about 3 years of running calls, and not one of those calls did anybody ever ask me, well, I got a call from the dispatcher that says, go ahead and meet the party at so-and-so location. Not one time were they there to tell me thank you or anything like that. It was always something negative.
Mm-hmm.
So the negativity affects the officers in a way, and they have to have a way to find it. So one day I was riding at about 4:30 in the morning, and I see this guy that's just walking down the street, and I'm going, I wonder what he's up to,
Yeah, I'm sure your
So-
instinct.
So, I'm looking, I see him, and he waves at me. And I went, oh, this guy is into something, he's probably a burglar, peeping Tom or something. So I roll around the bike, and I speed it up a little bit, and then come back, and there he is, still walking down the sidewalk. So I ask him, I get out, and I'm doing this investigation type, what are you up to in 4:30 in the morning? And he said, he says, when I saw you, man, I was so happy to see you. You don't know about this neighborhood, but it's rough, and I got to be at work at 5, and I'm gonna, I'm really scared, and I was just glad to see you. And that right there is when I realized I'm really getting too negative here.
Yeah.
I need to lighten up. So,
because that's what it's all about.
so I
It's-
kind of, he was grateful to see me.
right. Yeah.
And so I looked at that, and I think that was a defining moment between law enforcement officer and a peace officer.
And a peace officer, yes. Oh, that's. I
So
think you're right.
So, Deanie talked about giving money and stuff. Well, I would go underneath the bridges at Sabine Street down under there, downtown Houston, and sit down and talk with these guys and figure out what we could do to get you out of here, if you want out of here, and
The homeless.
yeah,
Oh my word.
yeah. And there's more. It wasn't just me. There were more people more officers that did something like that.
That's just. I mean, that's just amazing. And when you would talk to them, were you shocked that they go like they don't want to go in somewhere? They'd rather be right there.
There's some that did that, but then there were some that needed a way out. And if we could just kind of like the starfish on the beach, you could save one at a time,
yeah.
if you could do
right.
that, and then pass it on. That was my ideal right there. If I help you, you need to help others,
Right. Right.
Pay
So-
it forward.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Say
we
a lot.
we had the angelic resale people in here, and
I
and-
give stuff over there all the time.
Oh, and these 3 people that had been, had problem with addiction, and they rose up through the ranks, and now they're working as staff over there and talking about the teen challenge that they have and how they help so many people and how strict they are when those people come into that school and that's what they're going to be learning, and how they're going to give them a way to get back into life and put all that behind them, but go on to life. I said, if they could just teach that in the schools. I mean, they need to have that kind of program in the schools.
Yeah.
Because now the kids think it's all okay to wear pajamas to school. Because he says, oh no, you have to have a collared, and you have to have a collared shirt, you have to have clean pants and nice shoes and stuff like that. And we provide all that for them and make sure that they dress to success kind of thing. And it was so cute. I just loved it. And I telling people, you go over there and you buy things, that money goes to something good. And I'm glad to know that you're over there, helping them out.
Well, Deanie and I still actually do it, but through a motorcycle club.
Well, the motorcycle club, I asked you, what were y'all doing out at night in the rain and the cold last night? And what were you guys doing? Would you explain that now? We were just starting to do that and the show started.
Well, it's been going on for a number of years, but Thin Blue Line Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, anytime there is a police officer that's killed in the line of duty and that suspect gets the death penalty, we always, as a group, there's probably, there's over 900 of us, but we're all over the world, international. Yeah. But anyway, we had this killer last night. I'm not even going to give his name, but he killed Officer Nix, who was a Dallas PD officer.
Homicide.
Yeah. And so we always go with our motorcycles, and right where the execution chamber's at, our motorcycles are backed up towards that wall. And once we are given the sign, the signal that he's getting to be juiced, then we turn our engines on so that he cannot make a statement. And the noise is so loud that the families cannot hear what he's saying inside those chambers. So we want him to know that this is what he's going to hear before he goes.
Right.
He's going to hear.
He's going to hear from the police.
He's going to hear from the police.
Traumatic, yes.
And we were there when Jim Irby's killer was executed, and we were probably 80, I don't know, maybe not even that many, but 60 or 70 of us. Can you imagine motorcycles revving their engine? And you can't. They say they can't even hear anything in the waiting area.
Yeah, and they never told y'all like you can't do that.
Right, and he cannot. You can't hear what he is saying.
Yeah.
So it's our way of giving the last voice for the law enforcement.
Right.
And Dallas PD was on their way down because he was a Dallas officer, but they got frozen iced in, so they didn't get to make it.
They couldn't make it.
So y'all were there for them.
Yeah, we go to every cop killer execution.
And funerals for the officers.
And funerals for the police officers as well.
Well, there's nothing more impressive than when they're lined up, and
yeah,
we do
it's amazing.
A lot of that.
It's amazing.
And our uniform is our we have a certain formal biker look, I guess. Every one of us are dressed uniformly the same.
That's great.
So it's black pants, blue shirt,
when we go to funerals,
our vests.
Formals.
And it's called the Thin Blue Line?
Thin Blue Line Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club.
Oh, that's great.
And the club was started back in 2009 by Rico Garcia and his brothers. And they wanted to create a law enforcement motorcycle club to give back to the public and pay it forward, especially for officers and their families. Christmas time, we make sure that all the kids of the families of the kids that have their dads have been killed, we make sure that we take them on shopping sprees, we send money, we do all kinds of benefits. So when people on the highway see a motorcycle group, we don't want them to think bad of us. that motorcycle group is probably going to a benefit.
Right.
When we were probably 30 bikes last night.
Last night there was 18.
Oh, 18.
Wow.
Okay, so we had 18 bikes. So
That's amazing.
Sleet and rain. It was
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, that was.
So we we want to give back to our community and pay it forward.
Sure.
And this is a way that we do it. And we're highly respected from your 1%ers. And we're the only law enforcement club that is respected by 1%ers.
We're talking
Now, what's the 1%ers?
Well, we're talking about Banditos, Hells Angels.
Oh, and they respect you guys. They're gonna give
they're
way
the
to y'all.
only-
Oh,
They
That's
know they're
awesome.
1%ers, but they respect that we respect the motorcycle protocols and culture.
right,
And
right.
so they're all pretty much they can't say they like us, but they respect us.
They respect us.
See,
We
but
don't
that's-
bother them, and they don't bother us.
Right. I love that. And the narrative that has always been in the movies about the bikers and stuff like that, you see and you go like, well, but my best friend and her husband got into the biking stuff, and I said, I can't envision you guys on bikes and going that far. And she said, oh, it's a family. I mean, you become family real quick, and everybody's there for each other. And there's some kind of empowerment about you get on that bike and you get going down the road and
Wind therapy.
yeah,
It's only Harleys.
it's only Harleys. I
And a
love
lot of clubs
We're
that you
kidding.
see are just riding clubs. You know, they're not.
Yeah.
Not. Our law enforcement, we are the majority of us are law enforcement, active and retired. And then we have civilians that are part of our organization, our club, that support law enforcement. So
that support law enforcement. Well, it's just amazing to me. And I have a question. I know this is going to be weird for Jim, but Jim, when you found out that you were going to have a female ride with you, and this was going to be the first female, he's getting up there ready to make a statement, and this is the first female for HPD. What was your feeling, honestly? How did you feel about it?
Well, it was pretty new, because it was all men in. What do you say when you walked in?
Well, when I walked in the roll call for the
She's
first
brand new.
time, I said all I could do was smell the testosterone in the air because I was the only female in there out of 30 officers.
Yeah. So, I believe that we should, every individual, every person, because I go back to my second grade, need to be treated with dignity. And I did not cut any slack with Deanie because she was female. She's there. She's in a position to ride a patrol, enforce the law, take care of the community, protect and serve. I don't know if I did it with her, but one of my routine things was to stop the patrol car at 2 o'clock in the morning, say, get out with the rookie. Get out. And they would kind of like, well, this is weird, he's making me get out. So I'd get out and I'd look on the side of the patrol car door and I said, what does that say? It says protect and serve. I said, if you can't do it, you need to quit now.
Oh,
And
wow.
I meant it.
Yeah. 2 o'clock in the
Quit now.
morning because
So with
was good.
Deanie being female, and she's not the only female that I rode with out there, but I did not cut any slack. I wanted them to be able to do it on their own.
Right.
And she did. She did so well. She became the 100 Club's Rookie of the Year for the years.
1980.
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
So I taught her
I
well.
love that. Yes, you did. And you're taking all the credit for it. Great. That's good.
No, it was all her. She did everything.
That's fine.
She was a fine. She's a fine police officer.
And she's so beautiful. That's what I kept saying. Now, all right, being the triple threat that you are, because you're beautiful, you're very intelligent, and you don't mind hitting somebody over the head and knocking them out. And so that was everything. And I just wondered about how the men, knowing men, like we do, how they responded. And did it take a while for them to see her knock somebody over the head, or what did it take?
She earned her position. of course, we're going to talk in the field training program out there. We're going to talk how she producing, how every person is doing, every officer.
Right.
And
But the eyes were more on the women.
they were, because the quote unquote weaker sex or whatever,
Right.
But that sounds sexist. But we're not really that way. We want her to do the same as we do.
Right.
But
Well, the gun is always the leveling factor. I mean, like, I don't care how short if you're able to produce a gun in time and hit the mark, then it really wouldn't matter. It's probably having the courage and bravery to get that gun out and to have to shoot someone.
I can say that I had one police officer that I had to ride with.
Oh, yeah.
He was my FTO. And got into the car with him, and he right off the bat said, I'm going to tell you now, I don't want to ride with you. I didn't want to ride with you. I don't like you. I don't like females on the police department, blah, blah, blah. He just went on. I said, okay.
Did you say, is that all you got?
I just basically said, okay. So we got into a lot of stuff that night, meaning some burglaries of some cars. We had to chase some people. We had to fight some people. And when we got back to the station that morning, he turned to me and he said, I'll ride with you anytime.
Oh, man, that's
Yeah.
Could you embroider that on your...
Exactly.
Oh, that is just great. I love
so
that.
I had to prove
Sure.
myself. So it was really difficult for me as a woman. I didn't look at myself as a woman at the time. I looked at myself as a police officer. Okay, I'm a woman, but I'm a police officer.
Right.
Just like he's a man, but he's a police officer, and that's how I carried myself. I'm a police officer. Now, when it was time to be a lady, I can be a lady. And I love to dress up and
wear makeup.
and
She
wear
does,
makeup.
yeah.
She's so
and
feminine, yeah.
I love doing that.
Yes.
But when it came down to business, when I was, on my job, that's the way it was.
That's
And-
amazing.
And even to this day, she and I see things that no one else really sees. We're on patrol
All the time.
all the time.
I
Don't even know
love
it,
that.
Yeah.
I
You know?
love that.
We see things that no one else does. You might tell them about the guy that ran over the apartments.
Oh, where I used to live. This was before.
We're all retired and all, right?
And the lights went out. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and I heard this loud boom. Lights went out of the house. And so I ran outside. He was on the phone. Ran outside, and I lived in a duplex. We lived in a duplex at the time. And just probably 10 houses down, I saw what was flashing. I was getting kind of close to the house. I thought, oh my gosh, the house is on fire, that little house. And an elderly lady lived there. So I ran back to the house, and I told him, I said, you need to come with me because that house is on fire. So I got my fire extinguisher, and so we're running down there, and by the time I get down there, there is a truck a pickup truck that ran through that house and ran through the house next to it, and then went into the second house and was in the living room of the second house. So I happened to see this man, though I'd never seen before, and I knew that he was the driver. So I see him coming around, and he asked me if I'm okay, and I said, I'm okay, are you okay? And knowing that he's the guy that ran in here. And I could smell alcohol on him and all that. So he walks away towards Jim, and I said, Jim, I said, stop him. I said, I'm going to stay here and see if there's anyone else, and I need to find this elderly neighbor.
Yeah.
Well, by the time I get everything under control at the house, he's fighting with this crook.
Well,
and he takes him and picks him up and throws him down on the ground. By the time I get there, and I go, and I had
She's
a fire
in a nightgown.
I'm in my nightgown. I have my fire extinguisher in my hand. We had no handcuffs.
I'm holding his hands behind him.
So I stand over him. This guy's laying on the ground. I'm sure that he got to see quite a bit because I had my short nightgown on, and I had the fire extinguisher, and I just told him, I said,
You move, I'm gonna.
you move and
I'm gonna hit
I'll
you with
you're
the
gonna
fire extinguisher.
yeah, you'll be
We didn't have any
extinguished.
guns.
But we worked. It was like we had
Teamed up and
teamed up.
nothing-
Yeah, like
it was just like yesterday. You
But
know,
yeah,
just
like
wham.
yesterday.
And
Oh,
he was
that
at-
is
The police.
just.
He was at DWI, and it was his third one. And thank God that the elderly lady had just gone to bed, and she heard this. And then the house prior before that, this woman's grandson had just went to bed. So he would have gotten run over by this truck if he was still up. She
Up in
would
the
have
front of
gotten
the-
killed too. So the poor lady, she tells me, she says, I'm laying in my bed and all of a sudden I hear this loud noise, and here walks this guy through my bedroom, and he's going, I'm so sorry, and he's going out the
He
back
went out
door.
the back door.
That's the way to wake up.
And
That's
that's
the
when
way
he
to wake
came
up.
back
Met
around.
Deanie there, you know.
But
That is just, you guys, we've got to do this again. And did you ever get to listen to any of the Whodunit that we did with her
Oh
and Bob
no,
Berry?
I didn't.
I don't think we were married then.
Oh, okay. Well, it was so much fun.
We did. We had
And I
fun.
can't imagine you two come in and you give us all the clues, and then we're going to figure out the clues and who did it, and try and find out who's. And my grandchildren loved that show. They thought that was the best show we'd done, and so. If y'all could come back and share some stories and just tease us with the clues and see if we can figure it out that y'all have to do that you had to do every day. I love you guys. You're amazing, and I'm
We love
so
you
honored
and
that y'all
Richard,
came
too.
over.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all came over and
for
talked to
having
us. This is great, and this is going to be on YouTube. By the time you drive home, y'all can put it on your phone and listen to y'all. It was great, and I tried not to talk. Very
We've
much.
always had fun coming here. I've always
Well,
had fun with you guys.
It's great. It's so great. Thank you. And I have to thank our sponsor, which I forgot to do in the beginning because I got off into, is Wootton Financial Group. Thank you so much for being there. And you're getting ready to hear Chris Wootton in just a second. But first responders, we love you. We love you. We love you. And even more than that, God loves you. So thank you so much. And have a great weekend. And see you guys next week.
Every week, people ask the same two questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootton with Wootton Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootton Financial Group's process in helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran's show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootton Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootton Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
This program is sponsored by the Wootton Financial Group. It is not the intent of Wootton Financial Group to render or offer personalized investment advice or financial planning advice through this radio program or any related website. Wootton Financial Group's participation in this program is limited to providing general information on financial matters and should not be construed as financial recommendation or investment advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Game Plan Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the state of Texas. Insurance services are offered through Wootton Financial Group, Inc. Game Plan Advisors and Wootton Financial Group, Inc. are affiliated through common ownership, and neither firm is affiliated with The Cindy Cochran Show. No listener should assume that any information presented and or made available on this program serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized individual advice from Game Plan Advisors, Wootton Financial Group, or any of their